What's shaking over here? I'm going to talk for a minute. I'm getting another camera going here. We're going to talk for a minute about what you have to see to be accurate. What you have to see to get a hit. What you have to see. Adjust some lighting here so everybody can see good. That's so bright in here. How about that? Does that help matters? Does that help matters? Put that on. Cool, cool, cool. Good. Volume is low, and maybe I'm talking too low. How about now? Does the volume still sound low? Because I wasn't talking very loud. How about now? Can you guys hear me on YouTube? Can you guys hear me on Instagram? Got YouTube, we got Instagram. If I had a mirror, I could show you guys, or two mirrors, I could show you each other. I've got two, which is kind of important. So you guys on Instagram, just so you know, because I'm going to use this as a demonstration, to my left, which might look like right to you because things get flip-flopped with the reverse cam, to my left is volume is a bit low. I don't know why it's low though. Let me pull this phone. Get a little technical difficulty. And I'm not with CCW Safe, but we tell people that we found it to be like the best product out there. All right, so I'm not letting you guys run what I'm doing. By that, I'm saying my time doing what I'm doing. Here's what we're going to talk about. So one of the questions that I've seen pop up quite a bit lately, because one of the things I like to talk about in every one of the classes that we do, my buddy Sang makes these, they're awesome. Front sight, rear sight. Everybody's like, I understand how sights work. I don't need a rudimentary lesson in sights. Well, I think you do. I think you do. You too. So, of course, we all know we line up equal height, right? Tops equal height, equal light, meaning left to right, windage. So, when we're pointing a gun out in front of us, whichever type you're using, I got a red dot gun around here somewhere, either a dot or those sights need to be aligned on the target. So automatically we have to have that equal height, equal light. I'm going to get that right out of the way and then we're not going to talk about it anymore. So I talk about grip a lot because a good firm grip is required to be able to run a gun hard. Got an emptied out Glock 19. This is a trusty old gun. Show you guys from a couple angles, and this is never do exactly what Mickey's doing because everybody's hands are different, guys. So you might not have the hand the same size as mine or the same amount of muscle. You could be twice as strong as me, which actually can be a hindrance. Like my friend John Napolitano is actually Napolitano, but I pronounce it wrong just to get under his skin. His hands are so big that he's like covers the whole gun up. Where am I going with this? It's not just about how much you can crush the gun. So somebody commented, and this is something I get often, you're telling me to hold the gun hard. When I do, the sights tremble. You guys see a little trembly? Sometimes when we touch, the honesty's too much. That's somewhere in that song, trembly. Anyway, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. So anybody that's taken a class with me will know what I'm about to say. I ask this question 100 times during class. Why do I say it 100 times? Because that's how we learn. And I say this, what's required? Hey, YouTube, am I still quiet or is the volume okay now that I took the phone out of the case? What's required to get a good hit? By good hit, I'm talking about when you point your weapon. I don't care if it's a rifle, I don't care if it's a pistol, a revolver, a frickin' shot, a 400 shot. Okay, good. Oh, now I know that that phone doesn't work good in the case. I don't care what it is. When I say get a good shot, I'm saying with reliability, when you point that gun out, you know that you're going to get a hit within reason. You know, I'm like, I can't shoot a crater in the moon with my pistol, right? Oh, it was fine before. Okay, roger that. So, what has to happen to get a hit? People oftentimes say, well, you got to start with a good stance. You've got to have a good grip, right? A good grip. You've got to have, hey, by the way, so this thumbs forward grip, I've said this many times, This isn't new. Older than the sun. Well, not older than the sun, but it's been around a while. But that said, I know a lot of guys that would tell you this is a bad grip. This is a bad grip, right? Everybody says that's a bad grip. Well, one of my good buddies is top 100 shooters in the country, and that's how he holds the gun. Hey, Mac, that's how he holds the gun. But that's not a good way to hold the gun. How does it work? Because he makes it work. So I'm not telling you do what I'm doing. So what has to happen to get the hit? Well, you got to have a perfect stance in blah, blah, blah. No. What has to happen is, check it out, blow your mind. All that has to happen is the sights need to be aligned. So YouTube, if you were the target, and this isn't me being threatening, but if you were the target, my sights need to be aligned on you as the trigger is prepped. Hey, Instagram, my sights need to be aligned on you as the trigger is pressed. I said prepped, I meant pressed. That's it. So if this is moving, I'm scared, or somebody's yanking on me, or I'm having to move, I can still get a hit by seeing that sight align on whatever I need it to align on, be it a paper target, be it a steel target, be it a deer or a pig or a bad person trying to hurt you. So all that has to happen is those sights need to be aligned on whatever target as you press the trigger. So that like really demystifies a lot of the shooting and moving and all the things that need to happen in order to get a hit on a target. That said, we spend a lot of energy talking about all kinds of things about how we walk, how we posture, our arms up, down, one arm cammed up, because if I take one arm and I cam it up, it's going to cause counter torque. Those all of those things add value. There might be some validity in every one of those points, be it how you walk, heel to toe, toe to heel. Don't ever move backwards. If you move, that's not the point. Those things support good habits, right? So when you're training, let's assume that you already have the ability. Love this thing. Oh, it's actually loud in the ear. This is from Laser Ammo. Push the mag release. Let's assume that you've got a repeatable grip on a gun, all right? A repeatable grip, meaning that when you take it out of your holster or you pick it up off of a desk or a bedside table, you understand at a subconscious level how to hold it. What do I mean by a subconscious level? The next time you get in your car, tomorrow morning or tonight, whenever you're going to be in your car next, think about when you get into your car. Now, a lot of us now have push buttons, but if you have a push button or a key, do you have to think? I don't have my keys down here. We'll pretend that this brush is a key. Do you have to think to yourself, how do I hold it? And how do I stick it in? Or how do I push that button? And then once the car starts, do you think, all right, where's the gear selector? No, you don't, because repetition, and this works when you have a car that you've drove a bunch, not a brand new car, because you might get in a car that you rent and not know where all this stuff is. So I'm saying a vehicle you've drove a lot, check it out. Once you get there and you're in the vehicle, you've got it started, you don't start thinking about where's the turn signal lever, where's the volume control for the radio, where's the heat or climate control, whatever. You don't have to think about that stuff because repetition has built into your subconscious mind the ability to automatically hit those things. When you are driving and you decide I'm going to turn right, you don't think, hey, Mick, take your left hand, go like this, and then lift up on that lever. No, you are driving and you just hit the lever, right? So your grip should get to the point where it's repeatable like that. So then here's the magic. Here's how you can become a ninja. Right, check it out. So now you change your focus as you're training, because we're talking about training, as you take your training from standing and doing whatever you do, I just wanted to act like a weirdo, to now you shift your focus from being really fucking hard with what you're doing. You shift your focus to, what am I seeing? What am I seeing? What's happening in front of me? What am I seeing with recoil? What am I seeing out of my periphery as brass flies? What am I seeing as that slide or the back plate on the pistol reciprocates towards our face, right? So you are training now to start to pick up not just weird nuances, but you're seeing things that maybe you didn't see before. And now I'm training myself, here's the crux of all of this, to just see, when does my sight align with the target? And that could happen this fast. At some point in this movement, you could press the trigger. You guys see this? It's going quickly, right? But at some point in this movement, you could pop a shot, boom, 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 boom. I'm talking to both of you because I'm flying past two screens here. You could move past the target as long as you press the trigger and send that striker or hammer into the primer when the sights are aligned. Now look guys, we're talking about pistols at pistol distances. None of you be some tactical goofball and start talking to me about bullet flight and trajectory and all that. We're talking about like within reason, like 10, 15, 20 yards and in. Of course, the closer this gets, the easier this comes to and it's, so John Burleson just said, learning to pick up the sight with the rhythm of the slide. That's kind of what I'm talking about, but more importantly than that, I'm talking about learning just to see this thing. And now here's the thing. Gunfighters and shooters of old talked about, like Jeff Cooper, front sight press. I'm not just talking about just seeing your front sight, but you're training your subconscious to see what it needs to see. You don't always need a perfectly refined, rock-solid sight picture. If you've developed that grip that puts the gun out in front of you in a way that you're indexing onto a target. Yeah, there you go. Mac just said that could be on your back, on your feet, running, overcoming obstacles, whatever. As that sight, and so we can even say dot. If you are using your sights correctly and you have mastered a grip with your pistol, and it doesn't matter if it's one hand or two, you should get to the point with your gun that as you press your gun out, these sights are pretty well aligned. You shouldn't have to push your gun out and then do this to get the sights lined up. You get what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to push it out and do a bunch of fine movements. Why? Well, if you're doing that, that's an indicator to you that you haven't trained enough so that as the gun comes out in front of you, those sights are aligned. You see that? They're aligned. Boom. And what I'm doing is I'm looking on this gun. I've got a pretty bright sight. And guys get hung up. What sights do you have? Well, I guarantee that in the realm of handguns, more people in this world have succumbed to good old-fashioned irons like what's on this high power. This is an old high power. I guarantee more people have succumbed to just a good old-fashioned iron sight with no fanciness on there than any fancy fiber optic, plastic, orange, glowy, whatever. What's that tell you? It tells you it's not about the gear. It's about how you're training to use the gear and what you are seeing. So I again propose to you what is important and what must happen in order for you to get a hit on any target. And I've got a friend that can shoot a bow and knock pheasants out of the air. What's happening? You are aligning the sights with whatever. Now, when we say the sights, what are we really talking about? Again, within reason, none of you guys be jag-offs and tell me that the sights are over the bore and blah, blah, blah. We're talking about pistol fighting distances. So if I'm saying my sights, I'm really talking about that muzzle. The bore is pointed at the target, right? As long as these things are just a measuring stick, right? They're like a ruler, a micrometer, a level. All they are is a reference point to tell us where this guy's pointed, right? You guys track with that? Would you agree? Would anybody disagree? If you disagree, I'll disagree with you for disagreeing. So that's all they are. So as long as that muzzle is pointed at whatever we want to shoot, and we press the trigger while that's happening, you're going to get a hit. Hands down. Now, practice until you're the one with the gun. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't want to say combat accuracy. You could do this. This is how do you think men shoot aspirins out of the air? How does my friend shoot a pheasant out of the air? How can a master or grandmaster level shooter hit a swinging target that's going like this? Yes, there's training involved, to timing, speed, things of that nature. You are completely tuning up your subconscious, so that as those sights align with whatever it is you want to shoot, you're just syncing up trigger finger sight. I like it, press. I like it, press. I like it, press. Press, 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 press. And you know who's done a lot of very good work in simplifying this concept is Frank Proctor. Frank talks about this in his Southern drawl, and basically there's no magic to this, yet we want to make it seem like magic. Line those up, and in order to get going with moving targets, guess what? You can't do it by standing static. You can't do it. I can shoot at, check this out. Somebody answer me. If I go to the range every day of my life and I have 500 rounds to shoot every single day, and I go there and I sit and I shoot dime-sized groups at 50 yards, dime, 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 dime. Every day I do this. And I come home and I've got like beautiful targets like this, right? And I've shot that little 5/8 center out. I've just shot it out. And I come home and I hang them all on my wall, and it's wallpaper all over my whole house. Check it out. I can do dime-sized groups at 50 yards offhand with my pistol. No, I wouldn't be broke. See, I don't think about that. Just to sidetrack from my point, what you just said, my friend, you're making a joke, but the joke you're making, not only is it derailing my point, but your joke also tells me something about where your subconscious is. I wouldn't be broke, because if I'm going to the range spending 500 rounds a day, I probably succeeded at something else. So reprogram what kind of shit's coming out of your brain. I know you're making a joke, but that should tell you something. That should be a clue about what lies inside of you. So if you go do that, do you think those skills are analogous to shooting something that's moving? Well, one thing that you'd be really good at is seeing your sights, right? So you take somebody that's really experienced as a bullseye shooter like that, and now you tell them move the gun or shoot a moving target. Whoa, dude. Whoa. Another car analogy. For those of you northerners, one of my friends that's on here just moved to Arizona. Me up here, where I'm from, it snows in feet, and we know how to drive in it. Kids with bald tires on rear-wheel drive clunkers know how to drive in it. You go to like Georgia or some place where maybe there's some crazy snowstorm once in a while and people lose their freaking minds. They know how to drive, but they don't know how to drive in those conditions. They could even be a race car driver. They could be a professional race car driver but not have the skills for the conditions. So what I'm proposing is somebody can have these skills developed to this point of perfection for a certain task until the task changes. Yeah, man, like Canada. Like Canada, eh? There we go. This is like that old analogy, or the old axiom, rather. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Shut up. I like to see, I'm seeing some high-speed special operators hating on that now. I've been hating on that phrase for years, and I used to have all kinds of military and law enforcement guys like, how dare you hate on slow is smooth, smooth is slow, and slow is smooth as molasses. And I'm like, pfft. Anyway, in order to hit moving targets, you got to train to hit moving targets. I use blowback CO2 several times a week. You know, here's the interesting thing about somebody over here on YouTube saying that they use a CO2 blowback gun. I fell into this trap. Hey man, I don't want to dry fire too much because there's no recoil. There's no recoil impulse. What is not happening? And I have two actual pieces of data to support my point, so it's not just my opinion. So, when you're shooting, recoil, is it happening before, after, or during the shot? Somebody answer me. As you're shooting, so we'll just assume that I'm about to shoot YouTube here. I don't even want to say that. YouTube might cancel me. So I'm about to shoot Instagram. And does the recoil happen before, after, or during the shot? So I pull the trigger. I can drive blindfolded in the snow. Let's do that together. After. John Burles says after. John's right. So really, the recoil is something that's happening between the shots. Between what? Between you seeing your sights on the target. So in reality, this notion that we have to train with recoil to develop accuracy and or the ability to see our sights while moving is horseshit. Because recoil has nothing to do with the actual shooting. What recoil has something to do with is your ability to drive the gun back to the target, drive the gun back to the target, drive the gun back to the target. Dry fire practice is great, but you can develop tons of amazing bad habits. So I told you I have some data to support my point. Data such as none of the greatest shooters in the world that I know, and I know a bunch of them, that doesn't mean there's not some, but none of them that I know use any of those blowback style training aids. Doesn't mean that there's not benefit to them, but I know none that use them, which should tell you something. Do you want to emulate mediocre people, or do you want to emulate those that excel? You know, if you're gonna, I always like to say Michael Jordan analogies. If I want to try to be really great at basketball, am I gonna go try to see what Michael Jordan did to get good, or am I gonna see what the dude that flunked out of high school basketball did? Hey man, do you get the point? So that said, we need to make sure that what we're doing does have the highest outcome. So I have friends, all they do is dry fire and live fire. They dry fire sometimes 100 or more times. 1, 2, 3 to 1 live round. Now, what I just did is something I would never do. Why? Because shooting, I would never do this. So you watch some of the great shooters. Some of the great shooters, what they do, and they're pressing on a dead trigger. They're seeing their sight picture and they're pressing on a dead trigger. Why? Because they've already mastered a good trigger press. So now what they're learning is not a fundamental mechanical skill of just moving a finger. You're flipping a light switch. You work on that by doing this. If you're doing this shit, what are you training yourself to do? You're training yourself to shoot, take your hand off the gun, and work the slide. Well, I'd never do that in the real world. Yeah, you would do exactly that in the real world because that's what you're training yourself to do. You're going to watch, I'd watch Jordan any day, hands down, and I don't even care for basketball. That said, those guys dry fire, live fire, and you know what else some of them do? They play video games. Video games, not like the new PlayStation, Xbox stuff, old school arcade games where you hold the rifle or the pistol that's got the cable and they shoot. These guys swear by that stuff. Why? What's happening? Well, one, they're engaging a grip, they're engaging a good trigger press, and they're having to see, watching moving targets. What are you doing? You're speeding up hand-eye coordination. You are syncing your trigger finger with your eyesight. Your subconscious knows sight, press, whatever that target is. So we sometimes are looking for answers, for data, for sweet tricks and tips. They don't exist, bro. Learn how to manipulate your gun. I like this, but the only thing I don't like about it is it's a short magazine. Anyway, learn how to manipulate your gun at a subconscious level. Now you take that off the table. Just like fighting. All right, I'm going to get in my first fist fight in my life. This sucks. I don't even know how to throw a punch. Well, I think I practiced one once. That's the end of it. I'm going to get in my first fist fight of my life. This sucks. I have to do this. You get the difference? The difference is the subconscious level of skill is there. You are now using your conscious cognizant brain to decide how you are going to apply those subconscious skills. So get that mechanical stuff down pat, and then as you're out training, start to take your focus from what's going on down there with the paper. If you shoot a lot of steel, don't shoot steel all the time. Steel's wonderful. We shoot steel in class. You know what doesn't lie? If this was a steel target, and people, oh, I just repaint. Bullshit, you're not repainting the target every time you shoot. And you hear ding, 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 ding. You got no idea after this is all leaded up. Oh, I can't show you that. Those are people's email addresses. You can't tell. So you have no real feedback besides, I know I'm in this target zone. Well, that's great until all of a sudden you need to aim at something that big, right? So occasionally, if not every time you shoot, I tell this to people in every class, and I picked this up from Bob Housingay, one of my mentors, who built one of my delicious 1911s. I'll show it to you real quick. Oh, I'll show it to you, kids. Ah, there it is. Look at that. That's a beaut. 10 millimeter long slide. What I tell folks is, oh man, I love this gun. Start and end every training with accuracy. Even if it's one magazine for a strict group. You know, we do this, some food for thought for you guys, if you ever take a course with me or anybody and they ask you to shoot a tight group and they give you no time constraints, here's how it usually goes. Here's how it usually goes. It goes, all right, eyes and ears. All right. Range hat. I don't have my, oh, I'll get some eyes on just so we're playing the part. These are not my real safety glasses. And then, all right, guys, you're going to shoot a group, 10 rounds at the, in this case, B16 target. No time constraints. Tightest group's going to win the day. Guys, what I really want you to focus on, being very conscientious of good, strict movements, paying attention to what you're doing right, maybe what you need to work on. If you got any questions after the drill, we'll talk about it. We'll debrief on that drill, and then we'll give you some pointers on how you can tune that up. So then, here's what happens. And then you look downrange, and there's friggin' bullet holes everywhere. What was the construct of the drill? What was the point of the drill? Well, it was to be as accurate as possible. Why? So that you can tune in and hone to your subconscious what is required to get hits. But that's not realistic. I'm not just standing in a gun battle. Shut up, idiot. The point is that you are driving into your brain to a subconscious, repeatable level how to see your sights and press the trigger. So then, all right, clean up the targets. Let's do it again. So now the targets are dressed up. I'll say, all right, guys, we're going to do it again. And I'll reiterate, there are no time constraints. Boop. Dudes, dudettes, what the frick did you just do? I don't know, man. All right, let's try it again. And then I'll do this sometimes. You only get to fire every 30 seconds. Do not press your trigger until you have a perfect sight picture. If you have the slack out of the trigger and you have a perfect sight picture and you lose it, just take your finger off the trigger, back the gun into your chest. Relax again. Drive it back out, find the sights, right? Press the shot. Gun's going to recoil. Put your finger straight for a minute. Relax. Don't even fixate at what's happening downrange. This isn't about, I want to shoot a perfect group. This is about driving into your subconscious exactly what has to happen. Back out. I kind of lost it there for a minute. I read a comment. I lost my focus. I'm back on. Press, press, press. Good. Gun cycles. I'm going to breathe a little bit. I'm going to relax. I'm going to shake my shoulders out. I want to give myself the best possible platform to make this happen. And press, 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 press. Now, automatically people start getting way better groups. How then do you think, my buddy Mac just said, I saw it scroll by, he was talking about surgical hits. How do you think a guy can come out of the holster and whack a head at 15 yards in a second, right? Because they first, and this isn't, I hear people say, oh, well, that's slow and smooth. Now you did it. No, because to go fast, you have to go fast. But now you have trained into your subconscious this. Sight, 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 sight. And at the same time, slack's coming out, coming out, coming out, coming out, coming out. Boom. And at that point, the gun recoils. Boom. Recoils. Boom. I'll use this one. You get what I'm saying? It's coming out. I see my sights. Boom, 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 boom. I fired 2 or 3 shots before you've even gotten the gun up. And I'm not even that fast. I'm here. I see the sights. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Put some oil on that thing. My grip on this mock gun keeps hitting the mag release. That said, what's your goal? I want to make sure that we are back to that. Is it to shoot better? What's better? To me, better is being able to effectively, repeatably, reliably, on demand, put bullet holes in anything that I might have to with the tool that I carry on or about my body every single day for the purpose of protecting and fending off violence or predation against me, my family, or other innocent life. So, that being said, because in the context of law, most of us have a handgun. I'm not walking around with a 300 blackout or something, because that would be weird. I don't need to be super good at hitting things at 100 yards with this. Do I practice that? I sure do. But I tell you what, 25 yards and in, I feel really good with any of the guns that I choose to carry. Yeah, even this little guy. I've got a couple videos up where we're dinging steel at 90 yards with this. Dinging steel at 90 yards. Check it out. Check it out. Watch a good press. Watch a good press. You don't see a lot of movement there, right? It's all the same thing. What is your goal? Is your goal to be super ninja, how fast can you get out of the holster? Or is it to reliably, safely, repeatably, on demand, be able to make holes appear in whatever it is you need to make them appear in? Period. In order to get there, you must stop thinking about what you're currently thinking about, and you must start thinking about what do you need to see. Because don't for a second assume that that dude is going to stand there and let you shoot him. Probably not. Don't for a second assume you're not going to be trying to move your ass while shooting somebody. Goal is to protect myself. Well, I agree with that goal. What I was talking about, I like that goal. I was talking about the goal of why you're training with one of these. So that's a great goal. My goal is to protect myself with it, but to what end? You know, like I'm not going to like, U.S. Army's going to call me and they're going to say, Mickey, you are so deadly with a Glock sidearm. We would like to send you on one-man missions to take out whole armies. Like that would be a pretty silly, pipe dreamy, kind of goofy ass notion or goal, right? But I think that the goal is legit. To understand the limitations and capabilities of the tools that we carry, work with, live with, and use for self-protection. And then add to that, are you actually putting in the time with the tool to get the result that you need? And that's what it comes down to. That's where you start to have to look at things like standards, like holding yourself accountable. Somebody wrote combat accuracy. I have a friend of mine that came from a very super secret place in the SEAL teams that hates when I talk about this. But see, for somebody that comes from a live combat background like that, that has a different meaning. And you and I are not training to just like put down suppressive fire or something like that. Everybody that shoots a gun is responsible for what comes out of it, but there is a different code of conduct for average people. Not that a soldier is above or below you, but average people that are not combatants in war, in some theater of war. You can't just like hope to hit somewhere in or about. There are people out in the streets. There are people out in the world. We must be completely responsible. Now, that said, guys, you can't have that conversation in that shitty ass moment. That conversation needs to happen now, today. That conversation needs to happen when you're on the range. That somebody said something negative a moment ago and I chastised you. If you're still on here, I only was doing that because I care about you and I know that you're listening to this because you yourself want to get better. So here was my final point. When you're going through all of this stuff, the sounds in your head, that little voice, that little man or woman's voice in your head, mine sounds like frickin' Frank Sinatra. Anyway, that little voice in your head, he or she controls the outcome of your life. He or she controls your anger, your ability to respond to things that push you too far. It controls how you react to loved ones. It controls how you react to fear. It controls how much money you make or how much money you don't make. It controls everything. And the most important and extremely interesting thing about that is you control that voice. No, I don't. Those voices just say whatever, or voice. No, they don't. That little voice is you. You have programmed that dialogue in your head. So when you're out training, if you don't like something, don't get mad at yourself. I've seen grown men quit on the range because they're just so fed up. This is, I'm out of here, I can't do it anymore. I've had numerous times grown men walk off of a training range, just a training range. And I think to myself, you quit here. You quit here. What are you going to do when it's for real? I'm not even talking about fighting. What are you going to do when your marriage is in peril? What are you going to do when you've got bills piling up? What are you going to do when a loved one dies? What are you going to do when some type of real calamity or catastrophe comes to you? Have you programmed yourself to just walk away from troubles? I'm assuming most of you do not. But you know what? You don't get to that point by just one day saying, I'm going to lose my shit and give up when things get hard or uncomfortable. You get that way incrementally. It's how somebody gets out of shape. You don't just one day get out of shape. You get out of shape like when we're children, besides the fact that our parents might feed us unhealthy foods, thankfully mine did not. You are all, you see kids, they're vibrant, they're full of life, they're full of health. They run, they jump, they laugh, they fall down, they hurt themselves. The next day, everything's perfect. They scab up overnight. Then one day, little by little, things start changing. That little kid, though, Santa Claus is real. I can be anything I want to be. I can be a rock star, a movie star, a fireman, a soldier, an airplane pilot, a daddy, a mommy, whatever. And that body's healthy and that brain is sharp. But then other people's bullshit voices in their head tell them, no, it's really hard to be a pilot. And especially in this day and age, Timmy, it's not even worth it. Basically, you're just flying a school bus in the sky with sweaty people that are uncomfortable and don't even want to be there. And they don't appreciate all of your education and how much responsibility. Oh, I didn't know that, Dad. Yeah, being a doctor, that's really expensive. Or this one's a good one. Not being a SWAT cop or military commando and teaching people how to shoot guns to protect their life, that's dumb. See what I just did right there? See what I just did? So slowly our minds degrade. Slowly, as we get older, as we work through adolescence and into our teenage years, slowly we begin to believe all of the bullshit that other people's voices in their heads are projecting out to the world. At the same time, we stop running around. We stop climbing in trees. We stop crawling in ditches. We stop laughing our asses off. We stop getting up after we had a fight with our friend and hugging him and saying, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry I pulled your hair and threw a bug at you, or whatever it is you do with your friends. We hold on to that shit, and that stuff turns into a festering ball of sickness in us. Couple that with our unhealthy eating habits, our unhealthy drinking habits. Speaking of which, I've got a delicious modus operandi India Pale Ale. I need to wet my whistle. Somebody remind me to tell you about a whistle in a minute. So now we get to this point where we're all on this path of self-discovery, self-enlightenment, self-improvement, self-love is what I think it is. You love yourself enough that you realize at some point, I'm not getting any younger. You love yourself enough that you realize that my life is on this trajectory that will end. I am a rocket ship, and eventually this rocket will crash into a planet. It will run out of fuel, and that'll be the end of it. So as you start to go through that dialogue, many of us, not everybody, but many of us, actually I think it's, in the big scheme of things, it's a few, and I hope it's all of you, you begin to think, man, I love myself enough that I appreciate the fragility and the shortness that my life is. The fact that it is here and gone. As such, I will do my best to not only soak enjoyment out of it, but to give enjoyment to other people. I will not just spend my time trying to selfishly fill myself, but I realize in this endeavor that by being that kid that hugs and loves, you're doing the same thing, building others up, filling other people up, making that trajectory of their life something that has value and joy in it. So start to control what that little guy says in your head. You know, the more I think about that, I think about all the times I was the guy that said something that suppressed somebody's dreams, suppressed somebody's ability to do something that was beyond normal or beyond the mediocre or beyond that. This is the interesting point. All of those things are what? Anything that's beyond the normal, beyond mediocre. They're things that make us fearful. But what are we scared of? We're scared of failing. Why? Because I'm scared of what you think. I'm scared of what my dad's going to say, my mom, my coworkers. You know, if I go into work and I tell my coworkers, guys I drink with and go to the bar with and watch games and have picnics with, if I tell them, hey, I'm leaving the job, guys. I'm starting my own company. Memento mori, dude. I'm leaving, starting my own company, and it's going to be good. They're all going to be like, you got a 401k, dude. You're going to give all that up? You're going to stop schlepping at this office every day and take this risk? Like, oh, man, that's crazy. You got a family and blah, blah, blah. As I said to you guys the other day, just don't tell people. And most definitely do not be the person that tears down another person. So that voice in your head, this is why I'm telling you this. Once you become cognizant that other people have polluted you, oftentimes it's through the notion, well, I'm protecting you. I'm protecting you because if I don't stop you from going out and risking it all and falling on your face, because that's what's going to happen. You're gonna lose. If I'm not protecting you, then I don't really love you. Really, what it is, well, I don't want to see my son fail. I don't want everybody thinking my son's a failure. So I got to stop him. I can't, or even worse, I can't have my son or daughter or whoever surpass me, because then I'll have to look in the mirror and say, fuck, if he did it, what's my excuse? Oh, yeah. Therein lies the real rub. You have no excuse, my dudes. You have none. So start to control what that little dude in your head says. You don't have to be as good as anybody but you and how good you can be. Don't compare yourself or don't, unless the goal is, man, I'd like to walk onto a practice range with Bob Vogel or Les Kismartoni or one of these people and say I'd like to vest them on a match. Hey, that's a great goal. That's a great goal. But I'm saying, don't think to yourself, oh man, I'll never be like that. Nope. No, you won't, because you're you. You're you. But you know what? When you think I can't, I won't, you're right. You can't, you won't. You can't, you won't. And that's just the way it's going to stay. Until you begin to take a look at yourself and say to yourself, hey, doesn't matter what he does, doesn't matter what she does, it doesn't matter what I did. Because here's the real sad part of it, that trajectory of our life that goes from A to B and it's done. I just watched a friend of mine appear here and we talked about this just earlier. We make mistakes. How many times? Not only, so we've got these voices in our heads, and I'm not talking about crazy people, your parents, your teachers, other family, neighbors, good-intentioned people and ill-intentioned people that have filled you with all kinds of thoughts about what you're capable of or not capable of, and all that really matters is what you think that you're capable of. And oftentimes we are our own worst enemy because we will not forgive ourselves for failing, for messing up, for not doing enough to press on past a problem. I don't know how many times in my life I've said, oh, you shouldn't even try that because the last time you tried that, you fucked it up. I read a comment. Stop me. Well, yeah, that's the thing, guys. All these people that are wonderful at stuff, these people that have achieved great things, either financial success, emotional clarity, and happiness, something as simple as sleeping every night in peace, or being at peace with yourself for things that you've done wrong. Guess what? You are your worst enemy most of the time. It's not your wife nagging at you. It's that voice that you control in your head. You control it. This is you guys saying that you're sick of this and you want to talk about whistles? Yeah. I don't say sometimes, Canadian gun guy. I say all the time. Why? Because any one of you could become my enemy in this physical world. I'm not talking about combatively fighting. You could do everything in your power to ruin me. You can't. You can't. Only I can. You can do everything in your power to put me down, tear me down, beat me up. You can't unless I allow you to. My phone's got 2% left in it. Stand by, kids. I've only got a couple more minutes left in my throat. Anyway, I'm going to have some more of that delicious soup that I made yesterday. Yeah. So therein, I wanted to tie, so we started talking about what? Let's wrap it all up. How do you get a hit? How do you get a hit? How do you get a hit? Your sights, which is saying nothing more than your bore, right? Your barrel, your sights have to be aligned with whatever your intended target is. Paper, steel, flying clay disc, evil doer. They have to be aligned with whatever your intended target is as you press the trigger, right? That's it. No more, no less. Ameriglow. So if your sights are aligned with that target when you press the trigger, what happens? And again, don't go back to the what distance and elevation. We're talking about pistol fighting distances, competition distances. Within reason, you're going to get a hit. So we've got the mechanical stuff down. Now you've got that good grip. You've got the ability to get the gun out. Start training yourself to see what you have to see. I'm not talking about just fixate on a front sight. I'm talking about see what you have to see. See what you have to see. If this sight is analogous to a gun, at some point as this traverses across both of these cameras, as I've already showed you, we can get a hit, right? Boom, 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 boom. I don't know if that's Rick there from Ameriglow. Rick, I got to call you because we got the next S12 coming up. I need you, buddy. That said, guys, So you've got that part. You've got the mechanical part. You've got now the ability and the practice of seeing what you need to see. How are you going to now use that to affect not only your shooting but affect you? Now, what have you in a sense done? You've set a goal. You've created actionable steps to achieve that goal. Those actionable steps are the next time you're at your range, you're not just going to throw lead at a target. You're going to start to focus on things. And when I say focus, I don't mean focus. I'm saying focus your energy. So sometimes we say focus and we think it means harder. I'm not talking about harder. I'm saying the periphery goes away for a moment. I see what I need to see to get a hit. So you've created those actionable steps. Now you're going to apply action to it. So the super, super cool thing is, as you're on the range and you have that voice and you missed, or you shot low left, that voice is not going to say, damn it, Mickey, you're stupid. Why do you keep doing that? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to clear my gun out. That's not how I do it. No, it's not. That's not how I do it. I say this stuff. I actually say it aloud, even when there's people on the range. I don't care, because I'm there for me. I'm not there for them. That's not how I do it. This is how I do it. For you, this is how I do it. Yep. I load my gun back up. I do it again. Yep. That's how I do it. Yep. And I talk myself through it. That little bit of doubt creeps in, that little voice that we just talked about for the last 15 minutes that tells you you can't, you won't, you're not good enough, no matter what you do. All of those things are true because you allow them to be true. Colt G, I just talked about that. If you've not been on this video, go back and watch it from the beginning. Somebody just asked, what do I have to focus on? That depends. Our eyes only can see in one focal plane, right? So that's why sights like these Ameriglow Spartan operators, you guys, I'll show you here first. So the rear of these are an older set that have been bashed around for years, but you can see even in this light, that front sight is very bright. So the theory there, which is well proven, you're going to have good alignment. Well, our eyes only can see one focal plane at a time. If you guys hold your finger out in front of yourself, or most of you are probably watching me on a phone right now, excuse me, if you focus on the screen, it's clear and in focus. If you put your other hand between you and the screen and you focus at your other hand, you will notice that the monitor or screen that you're looking at becomes blurry. Now take your hand down, focus at the screen or monitor again, and shift your attention to what's behind the monitor or screen, but continue to keep it in focus. You'll see the other things in the room or vehicle or whatever space you're in become fuzzy and blurry. So now shift your focus to the things off in the space or car or wherever you're at around you, and you'll notice what? You'll notice your screen becomes blurry. This is just, human anatomy, physiology stuff. We can't see in clear focus multiple planes, which is why what I've been talking about the last 53, 54 minutes is so important. You are training your subconscious to see what it needs to see. At some point, your dominant eye should pick up the front sight with both eyes open. Well, that should, maybe, not always, if it could, if it can. There's no forever, always, whatever. So what happens if this is a wall and I'm going to shoot around it? From a tactical standpoint, am I going to shove my whole head out, or might I just now have to switch and use my left eye? So there's something to think about there. I still see through the sight. Yeah, you can, but pragmatically, if we're talking about just brass tacks, you should see the front sight and clear, concise focus. If you go on YouTube, you guys that are on YouTube, I've got a whole video where we play with the camera lens and we show you what you should be seeing. So just from a basic standpoint, front sight, it should be in clear, crisp focus from a purely target shooting standpoint. Rear sight will become somewhat blurry. Target will become somewhat blurry. They're superimposed on the target. Something like so, something like so. Yes, I'm not aligned. In this the red will be what you are seeing in clear focus. Okay? Back to the broad point here, guys. Some of this mechanical stuff, we've got tons of content out on both of these things. But the bigger picture, and I want to reiterate it, and that's what I'm going to close with because my voice is hoarse and I want to have supper. What are you thinking about as you're doing this? Something I like to say, and I will repeat it to you now. You are the exact person, the exact shooter, the exact father, brother, son, mother, neighbor, citizen, voter, mailman, employee, whatever that you trained yourself to be. What the hell are you talking about? You are the exact person that you trained yourself to be. You are the exact shooter that you trained yourself to be. My friend Super Dave Harrington has a saying, everything's important, everything matters. Oh, well, that's just this weird, stupid, broad statement. No, it's not. Everything is indeed important, and everything about how you approach a task, be it your attitude, be it your dedication to apply principles, to create organized, repeatable motion, or some kind of willy-nilly bullshit where you're like, oh, I'm just, target practice, whatever here, guys, let's stop target practice. No, that is disorganized BS. The way that you approach things mentally, emotionally, as well as with your physical body determines its outcome. But you know what determines more of its outcome? How you think. Yeah, man, how you think. Start to think about that. I can't say this enough because it is true. There is nothing that you can do in your entire life to affect the outcome of your life or the things in your life. Be it shooting, how much money you earn, how happy you are with your significant other, spouse, whatever, how fit you are, and how happy you are the day that you die. Nothing affects that more than how you think. Believe it or not, it's the truth. On that note, I will say adieu. You guys know how to find me. You guys on YouTube, I surely hope that you have subscribed. Not just because I want to be your friend in real life, but because, hey man, I want to be your friend in real life. Fine, whistle. So I said remind me about the whistle real quick. So right here, years ago, my brother has knocked 2 teeth out of my mouth at various times because we like to box. And this one right here, like half the tooth is a crown from, I don't know, 20 years ago. So today I'm driving and all of a sudden, we've all had some kind of dental thing. I feel something. I spit it out on the floor. Look in the mirror and I'm like, holy shit! And it goes, it whistled. And I'm looking at it. I called the dentist and luckily he got me in tonight and got me all dialed in because I got to go to North Carolina and I thought, how freaking funny. I'm going to end up doing class. All right, guys, here's what you're going to do. And we'd have just gone through that. But, yeah, he's like, oh, you'll be good. I'm like, I'm not good. I'll post a picture maybe at some point. I look so funny. I was like, could have just jammed like a cigarette in there and walked about with a cigarette in there. So, you dudes on YouTube, please subscribe. We enjoy communicating with you. You guys on Instagram, you're probably already following us. I appreciate it. If you guys on Instagram have not visited our friends from YouTube, we have a lot more content over there. A couple quick things. S12 is now up and running. We've got like 20% capacity in 1 day. 20% capacity in 1 day, which is pretty awesome. We've got early bird special, which goes until the end of November. Then the price goes up, $300. We've got a class this weekend in Burlington. Hi, Ralph. Love you too, son. Burlington, North Carolina. It is going to be a freaking fantastic class with Joel Gupton, U.S. Army Green Beret 18 Delta, which means that basically that is the dude that you want if you are bleeding to death anywhere in the world. That's the guy that's going to save you and get you to the hospital where they can patch you up. We're doing a 3-day course. Rifle, pistola, and Don. All going to be wrapped into 3 days. That's this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Burlington, North Carolina. People will watch this later. CarryTrainer.com. Sign up. Check it out. Peace out. Bye, guys. I don't know how to shut this thing off. Sign up if you haven't signed up, Hick Life, because that class is about full. See you, Andrew.